And action. Welcome to Pherform Stronger Together podcast. This is episode 6, and I am here joined with Maria. Hey. Maria's been a long-standing member here at Pherform. She's also one of my best friends. And we are here to kind of talk about your experience within not only Pherform, but your kind of going through your experience with gyms, culture, your own struggle, but also confidence that has been gained through strength training. So let's start it off with kind of giving us a little bit more about who you are and a little bit about your background.
Yeah. Maria here. Thanks for the beautiful intro. I've been in Hong Kong for almost 19 years. I am a mother of 3 beautiful boys, quite old in age, but they keep me young. Teenagers, and one is a grown man about to have a baby, so I want to be a grandma.
Very exciting.
Yes, very exciting. As you mentioned, I've been a long-standing member of Pherform for quite some time, and that is pretty much where my real strength training and fitness journey really began. It went anywhere from bodybuilding to powerlifting to strength training, spinning, everything you could think of, and then everything brought me to you here at Pherform,
Well, let's lead into that, because you've had the opportunity to be both on the member side of both boutique gyms and commercial gyms.
Yes.
You've also had the opportunity to be able to be on the professional side and working operations for both boutique gym as well as a commercial gym.
Yeah.
So in looking at both of those, being a member, where do you see the shift in terms of the culture, the community between the two, and what makes a culture within a gym?
I guess you could say I'm quite privileged to have the experience that I've had. Went from education to corporate, and then, as you say, running all the fitness clubs, and then working alongside you previously as well. 3 completely different models that I worked for, right? So
corporate.
Yeah, but also in regards to the gyms, I worked for 3 different gyms, right? So if we're focusing on the gyms, then all 3 of the gyms, I learned something about each community, but also again operations and business planning and everything, right? I was privileged in that sense. So went from, of course, working with you as community manager many years ago. Know your brand and what you represent. Then moving on to a martial arts PT gym, which was double the size, with men, with women, with children, completely different business plan. And then during COVID, then transitioned to a more local 24-hour gym. And so to say that you almost can't exaggerate how different all 3 are.
Sure. Yeah.
So
how do you build up? If you look at all 3 of those, how would you define culture within each? Can you?
You can. I mean, even you would think there isn't a culture in a 24-hour gym, but there is.
Okay.
But I think again, culture comes from the people always.
From staff, from members.
From everyone that walks in the door, right? And a belief in the brand and a trust in your brand, right? For instance, here Pherform, what you have here is quite special, where it's just women. So you have women coming in. There's already a fear, right? Because they fear of what's outside. They don't understand what's going to be welcoming them here. And I think the community within Pherform, of course, we're all women. We all feel, I wouldn't say safe because they're safe everywhere else, but more in their mind, they feel more safe in regards to what is the strength training. They feel that they're going to get just a little bit more support, no judgment, because they don't have the fear of the men watching and so forth, which is very real. I've been through it. I've just realized I've only been weight training for 10 years.
Okay.
And I'm 45.
Yeah.
That I started quite old. So
which shows it's never too late to start.
It's
never too late to start.
No. And I would like to say my DEXA scan shows my calcium in my body, my bone density about 35.
That's awesome.
So that is due to weight training. But then you've got your other gyms. Again, the culture is the type of people that you invite in, the customer service you provide, how much you engage with your community as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel, as the person that I am, how you behave and how you treat your people should kind of be an influence on your staff around you.
Yeah.
And you do hope that, okay, this is what we're bringing to the table. And it's the people, it's the staff, it's everyone within the four walls of your gym that makes your community. You can't, you can't please everyone,
Yeah.
but if you have a large ratio of people that are coming and your retention is high and they're happy to come to the gym and they're not being forced because they've paid for it, it's a quite special thing to be able to build a community and keep it going.
So in your opinion, what are the standout reasons of why people keep coming back to Pherform?
Well, I'll put my member hat on and say this is the first time I've only ever been consistent at Pherform with my training, and I can train on my own. I step on the stage for Amateur Olympia many years ago. I've won gold at powerlifting for masters. I can train on my own. I've even learned throughout the years how to program my own program. So, but I am a person that requires other people around me and to help me to be successful. And that's where Pherform does that job. You're not an open gym. You're not open 24 hours. You are specifically here for the women. You've got your female-specific training. You've got such a good variety of classes. So there's really no excuse to not work out any time of the day when your classes are available. And I think, again, it's the non-judgmental. You come in, I'm working alongside women who are also in their 40s, working corporate, are tired, have kids, divorced, but then I'm also working alongside younger women who are, could be the same age as my son, but you just don't feel that difference here. Everybody's there for one task, and that's to work out and to make your fitness the first priority the minute they walk in the door.
What are some excuses that go through your head? Like, do you wake up every day and you're like, yes, I'm ready to train?
No.
So when you feel that way and you're like, whether you're tired from the night before, you're lethargic, you're fatigued, you got a lot of mental stress, you got a lot of physical stress, work stress, the days in which you don't want to come in, like, what does that conversation look like with yourself?
Well, again, that all depends on my mental state, which we all can tend to struggle with, especially after the COVID and so forth. I think it's more of a just, how do I want to feel today, right? Okay, I'm too tired today, but then am I going to be too tired tomorrow? And then the third day, and then the fourth day, and the fifth day. And then I know, for me, as a person, I know myself. I know what it means to go a week without training. It means I'm going to start, my nutrition is going to go down, I'm going to be sleeping more, I'm going to be being less active, I'm barely going to want to walk my dog, and for me, that's just somewhere where I have to be quite strict, and I have to understand, which I've only just recently learned, that okay, that's a blocker I'm putting on myself. I'm going to be miserable for everybody around me if I don't get to the gym.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I feel it. I can feel it in my body, and then you just like, come on, let's get to it. The 6 a.m. classes aren't fun. I'm a morning person, and now because my job has changed, I have to now train at night. That was a huge adjustment for me, and it was almost a turnoff to be like, I don't want to work out at 5. I just want to go home. Right?
Yeah. And skip training altogether.
Completely.
Yeah.
I want to walk my dog and go home and just chill.
Did you do that when you first started the job? Did you stop coming?
I found a hard adjustment of it was hard. I was getting up earlier to go to work, and then had a full day, and I was like, I just have no energy.
Right.
And I actually there's a few other ladies that I've spoken to here in the gym where they say the same thing. They're like, I can only work out in the morning because they feel their performance is lower if they work out at night.
Ooh, performance in the gym?
Their own performance in the class,
right?
And I agreed with that. I was like, yeah, I feel so. Why bother? But I've adjusted, and I've actually realized, this is quite nice because I actually have a better night's sleep now. And my Whoop is telling me that's always good when I work out at night. So, I think it's more of your control and how you manage how your mood is going. And I know for me, I know when I can see things starting to slide down.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to get it together. There's always going to be an excuse to not work out, to not eat healthy, to not have that drink with friends. It's a catch-22.
Well, and talking with members, those who come in the morning know themselves enough where if I don't come in the morning and I come after, there's always going to be something that's going to be going on after work.
Fair
because
enough,
most of the time no one's asking, hey, can you get up at 6 a.m. and let's go have a coffee?
No.
Or have a drink or
No.
breakfast
Yeah.
or whatever. It's typically after work.
After work.
And so, have you found yourself when there's something social going on and it's kind of limited you to being able to train? And if so, have you had to find yourself pushing back of either saying, no, I'm going to come after, or you skip training altogether?
I prefer to do the first option and just say, okay, can we meet at 7 so I can do the class at 5:45, go home, get ready.
Right.
And that seems what works. I know sometimes you can't, and that's not an option because work entitles you to go out and have your relationship with your clients. Dinner is work for many people here, and the hustle game in Hong Kong is strong. So
Right.
it is the culture. But then there's always a way to say, okay, I know Monday I have this dinner with my client. Tuesday I have to commit to put myself first and go straight after work. Right?
So one of the points that you made before is when you get out of rhythm, you get out of your routine, which is your training, you find a lot of the other things start to have a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Nutrition, sleep, mental wellness. Is there, has it always been like that? Or where did you kind of find that training was the foundation for making sure that the other pieces of the pie, let's say, the chart kind of fall into place, because if training is off, then everything else?
Yeah. No, it hasn't always been like that. And I only realized my mid-30s, early 30s, that fitness was what was going to keep me mentally stable. There's depression in my family. I myself tend to be depressed, and I can get very, very dark and deep. And it was about 13 years ago, suffered from postpartum depression. That's when I started going a little bit into the bodybuilding and the strength training, and then realized, wow, this is something that works really well for me. Started seeing changes in how I woke up in the morning and how I felt during the day, but also in my body, felt stronger just everywhere.
Yeah.
So no, it's not very recent if you just think about it, just 13 years ago, right? And at the age that I am, you would, what I like to see now is we've got the younger generation are starting to see this already in their 20s. And it's just like, yes, because it's just like, if I only knew in my 20s to be doing that, I feel like, things could have gone a different way, but of course you can't, you can't make your own path, but yeah.
Yeah, so if you talk about kind of your fitness journey, starting off on the bodybuilding side and competing, then going into the strength aspect, because bodybuilding and strength are completely different. You have a very pure aesthetic. I need to look a specific way. I need to have the muscle definition. I need to also be very stringent with my diet, right? And the nutrition in which you take in. And diet, we look at diet is the nutrition habits that you have on a daily basis, right? And so you have to be a lot more stringent when you're looking at that, because you have to have as low body fat as possible, so then the muscle definition, right? Which is a complete opposite of, let's say, powerlifting, which is I'm trying to lift maximal load in minimum amount, and it doesn't necessarily matter what the look of the body is, but as long as you have that age category, weight category, and then kind of getting into the actual true strength training aspect, which is functional training, being able to do everything, having a general fitness, both strength as well as conditioning. So looking at, kind of those three, and not even touching on, cardio and being a cardio bunny and going to spin,
trail running
and all of that, right? What is it about strength training that kind of has pivoted you to where you're at now, and kind of what benefits have you seen from a body positivity and body image, and your relationship with yourself in terms of the way that you look?
It's been an interesting journey. So obviously the bodybuilding was something, I tend to be a person, well, I actually used to be a person, not anymore. I used to be a person that always was chasing something, right? And the minute I got into the gym, it was like, what else can I do? I like this and I want to do this. So then jumped into bodybuilding, and then had to go at 2 shows, which were a lot of fun, but I learned a lot about myself in those shows, and it was
Yeah.
like, this is not for me. That's what I learned. It is literally.
It takes discipline.
It takes discipline. It's a
It's-
lifestyle, and
yeah.
if you have a family, and you know, if you're married and you have children, it's very difficult on everyone you're involved with,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
But I loved that I did it. I also at one point was in boxing, and I was in a fight.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, so I did
Right.
a white
You
collar
did the white
fight.
collar.
Again, tried it, never gonna do it again.
Mhm.
Then powerlifting. I do have to say, I think powerlifting brought me to a point where I was like, okay, powerlifting showed me my body was okay, and that I could focus on strength and lifting and being strong.
Right.
Right. So of course, when we were doing the powerlifting at Pherform, and we had our team, we had the Pherform team,
Mhm.
where we won gold. That was a huge transition in my mind of like how I should look, because the bodybuilding had me like I should look that way, and when I
Mhm.
didn't look that way, it was really hard to recover from, right? And then transitioning into powerlifting was a huge point for me, where I was like, oh wow, it's okay if I've got meat on,
Yeah.
because I actually need this meat to lift this heavy ass weight. And no, there's no diet. There was nothing. There was simply like, just don't eat so many carbs, like leading up to, because I was at such a good weight.
Mhm.
And then of course competing in the Masters was very empowering, right? You know, competing in 40 and above, and doing powerlifting like that was pretty wonderful.
Mhm.
So then of course staying on with Pherform, it was like, you've got your strength, you've got your metabolic conditioning, and whether it was because I got older, or I've just become more educated with your classes on what's best for my body,
Mhm.
and how my body reacts to certain your workouts, and the routines that you guys have here. I can't pinpoint, but there was a time where it was like, this just works for me, and I'm no longer looking at my weight. I haven't had a weight in my bathroom for almost 3 years now.
Mhm.
I don't look at my weight.
Mhm.
I'm just more conscious of, okay, I've had 2 big heavy days, I've been eating crap, let's calm it down. Let's remember, Maria, that you got to get to the gym. Don't start, going on the downfall. So
There's a lot of self-sustain, like,
there is.
yeah.
It takes a lot. It's a lot of inward work
Mhm.
to be like, okay, this is not working. You have to change that. But also, it takes, it's taken a long time for it. You do have to find that community and that gym that works for you, because that's where you're going to be the most consistent.
Mhm.
And that's where you're going to see changes. If you're gym hopping, you got to stay committed. But you want to commit to a place where you feel comfortable, and you see the changes in your body, and you're not in an environment where you feel like you have to obsess with what you look like. What's she wearing? What's he wearing? There's none of that here,
Mhm.
right? So I think that's also where I've been allowed to feel comfortable in my own skin, and in the weight that I am now, that I've actually managed to stay consistent at for quite a few years now, which is rare for me, because I tend to yo-yo up and down,
Mhm.
trying to find that optimal look for myself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this optimal look, right? We often hear it, right? And every brand new person that comes in, we have a kind of a goal setting meeting, and saying is like, what is your ultimate goal? And we've definitely transitioned from people who are like, I want to lose, body weight, or what we consider body fat, to I want to get strong, and I want to feel good, and I want to get consistent. And I do think that there's a cultural change outside of just Pherform, cultural change when it comes to women. I do think that what we stand for has been discussed among our members, and then they go and tell other people, is like, this is a message that Pherform has, which is not about necessarily the look, but it's feeling good, right? It's feeling good about yourself. And so, if you look at feeling good compared to looking good, can they go hand in hand? Or are they hand in hand, or are they different?
One complements the other if you're doing it right. I
Mhm.
think if you feel good, you look good, because you take more of an initiative, because you feel better about yourself,
Mhm.
right? When you're depressed and you don't look good, and you're filling your body with the fast food, and you're drinking a lot, not working out, you're stressed at work, you're going to start seeing changes in yourself,
Yeah.
which then leads you to go down that path, right? But when you feel good and you're working out, whether you've lost weight, because it's not about losing the weight, it's how you present yourself. When you feel good, you present yourself better. You want to look good for yourself. You feel a bit better in your clothes. You feel a little bit spicy, and when you go out.
Yeah.
It's your presence, right? It's your aura. So I do feel, yes, you can look good, but do you feel good? I would rather feel good. That transfers into looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
You can look good and be completely miserable.
Agreed. And you'll I'll see people in class. Being a coach and also obviously attending classes. And I think that the biggest is when you have someone in class who you can tell doesn't have the confidence in themselves, and it's relatable in the class. As you ask them, hey, have you tried an extra weight? No. Immediately, even before you say something, they're already telling you no, and they don't even know what you're about to say, right? And it's sometimes you just need that extra someone telling you got this.
Yeah.
You have this. Have you tried it? I think you can do it.
Yeah.
And it's the moment that they do it, and they're capable of it. It's that aha. It's that blink. It's like, actually, I should tell myself more about what I'm capable of versus what I'm not.
Yeah.
And that's where then it comes out into the everyday life of feeling confident in everything that you do.
Exactly.
And I think that's probably the hardest transition that most people, because it's not a visual, right? It's an internal feeling that you have that's really hard for people to explain once it happens, right? And people can't relate to that because it's like, well, I've never been in that position before, and therefore, if I've never been in that position, I don't know what it feels like. So would you, if you had anything to say to someone who has had the feelings that you've had of not feeling confident, not feeling good inside, what's a piece of advice that you would give them in getting to the point of feeling good about how they are, who they are?
Well, I mean, I'm someone, I love to see the women in the gym trying hard, right? So, and I love to work out with the women. So I do myself have a tendency to be like, when we partner up, I lift quite heavy, so I sometimes my partner's like, oh, that's big, and I'm like, you got this.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if you can't do the 10, do the 7.5. If you can't do the 12, do the 10. It's like, I'm right behind you. And I even sometimes make jokes like, because women compare, right? So we get into the class and they see me lifting heavy, and then I think they assume I've been doing this my whole life. So I do make comments like, hey, I only started lifting this heavy 4 years ago. You're 20 years younger than me. You got this.
Yeah.
Or I do slam I'm 45. If I can lift this, you can lift it. And I just feel like then we working together, and that's then when my partner knows, okay, we're in this together, and we're just gonna finish this class, and we're gonna kick ass. And I hope I see her again the next day. So I think again, it's a community thing. But then also your self-belief, and also using What Up. So you have the What Up, which helps you measure, which keeps record of what you of the weight thing, right? And I think that's a perfect balance for the whole system that you have, because then the women can see. And then there's sometimes, obviously, you've got your programming, so they might not have see what they've done, their dumbbell push presses from 4 weeks ago, and then 4 weeks later it could have gone 2.5, 5 kilos heavier. And that right there, when they see the visual, it's not about their weight on the scale, it's not about the jeans that are the size smaller, it's the program that they can see, wow, in 4 weeks I have actually gotten much stronger. And that's what I would hope brings people back, and wants, and is working out and harder, is for that aim to be like, I want to be better than myself, not anybody else in the gym.
Is there anything else that sticks out to you about your experience as a member at Pherform?
As a member, I know everything. It's a home. I mean, I always call it my second home.
Well, I always say that you should have 3 homes.
Yeah.
Your actual home, your workplace, and the gym.
Yeah.
And all 3 of those places should bring you happiness in some capacity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No one wants to go to work if they hate it. No one wants to go home if they hate it. And no one wants to go to the gym if they hate it. right?
That's
So
right.
each of those three places should bring some sort of happiness or make you feel like you belong, right? You know, and that's a big thing that I've always said to all of my staff is smile at every single person that walks in the door, because you never know what they're going through.
No.
And you might be having a bad day, but never bring that bad juju in with you, because we want everyone to feel like this is a place where they can come and feel good about themselves, but that it just feels positive, and it's got good warmth and embrace versus the negative atmosphere of people complaining or negative things going on within, you know, we got enough stuff that goes on in the external area. Leave it at the door, come
We're
in.
here to take care of you, leave it at the door. And actually you say, you know, that we don't want that negative talk here, but there isn't. I mean, you've got, you know, like, oh, today was shit day.
Yeah.
But it's not like it goes on and on and on, and you have a whole class of people talking about how shit their day was. It doesn't happen here. There's so much focus. There's such good music. There's such good laughing and joking.
And we also work hard on also talking about the mental side. It's like when we hear a member saying, "Oh, I can't do this. I can't." You can see, you can watch body language. I can't. I won't. I will. You know,
myself.
How do we get it? How do we get you to turn that around? Because the best place that you can work on your mental strength and your grit is within the gym.
Correct.
Right? And so it's like you yourself and I are the only ones that are actually doing it. We're there to support you, right? But at the end of the day, you're either going to do it or you're not, right? And if you're going to be you're more likely to do it in a supportive environment than trying to do it on your own, or doing it on your own and have someone tell you like, "Oh, you're shit, you can't do that."
Yeah.
And so it's making sure that we as staff are also making sure that we're pointing out to people when we see it and to get them to turn it into something positive.
Well, which you do, right? I mean, I've got my favorite movements that I see them on the board and I'm like, I lose all confidence in myself, right? I'm so confident all the time, and then I've got those movements you put on the board and I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't.
And I can see it in your body language.
Yes, and you call me out on it.
Yeah.
Right? The coach, you know, Topher calls me out when I get like a 12 kg and I should be a 15. You know, I've got Kin calling me out when I go too slow on the bike. You know, Bernie when I can't do a right pull up. It's like, come on, you know. And again, that's
the
everybody knows everybody, and you guys keep us accountable, and you guys are setting us up for success. As a member, Pherform sets us up for success. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being on episode 6.
Thank you for having me.
Look forward to you continuing your journey at Pherform, not only in the member capacity, but obviously coming onto the staffing
very
team
honored,
and teaching spin. So I just appreciate you taking your time out and also believing in Pherform as much as you have and being part of our community and just being another voice of individual of shouting out to the community of Hong Kong of what Pherform stands for and the journey in which every female should go through and have that community aspect as part of their life.
Well, on behalf of the ladies of Hong Kong, thank you for having the space for us.
Thank you. Okay.